What's up, your boy Vaughn, another reaction. In today's video, I have Lazer them 700 calls of OsamaSon Shade and Slayr. And it says Rage Music is Trash by Duty. Which I come subscribe. Let's get into it.
Right now surrounding Lazer and his comments on Rage Music, calling it trash and saying that fans are brainwashed. And at the first glance, that just sounds like another artist pushing back on a wave. But when you actually break down the situation from the sound to the culture to who he's been around in the past too.
Rage Music is trash. There's some of that shit that Shay and Too Slimy and Blood be dropping. Some of that shit trash. Just the fucking beat louder than them. That shit trash.
It becomes way more layered than just an opinion, because it's not just about rage music itself. This really tells how artists move within the scenes they were once aligned with and how quickly that shit can shift. So when Lazer has said rage is brainwashing, he's not just critiquing the sound. I also feel like he rejecting the whole sonic ecosystem, because I personally feel like rage is built on overdriven bass lines, hyper-saturated synth layers, this strong feel of rapid, very explosive drums, and a very intentional sense of sensory overload. It's supposed to feel intense, almost overwhelming, almost overstimulating, but what makes this comment a little more crazy is that I feel like Lazer own sound doesn't even exist outside of that chaos. It's really just a different form. If you heard his music a few times, his sound, it stems from a weird timing, a choppy delivery, a very predictable flow, and he definitely has his own formula in how he flows and how he put things together, having his own ad-lib bag with the whole fa. Like that's something that we know Lazer for. And I also feel like Lazer is trying to categorize the whole scene into one bubble. And one thing that people should understand is that rage isn't one-dimensional. There's definitely a lot of layers to it. There's times where the melodies feel bright and expansive. There's times where it feels very compact, dense, also compressed, very overwhelming at times too. And then you got a different side where people dive into this whole grainy, more textural kind of feel of music, and they're more focused on
I'm eating pizza bites, by the way. Pizza rolls.
On the ambient atmospheric kind of side, but it still has this overblowing kind of volume going on with the 808s and stuff like that. So when everything gets labeled trash, I feel like some guys dragging it because there's different forms of the subgenre that you're talking about, and there's different directions in which things are evolving at different points and different ways and stuff like that. And that's where things start to feel off, because Lazer wasn't always positioned against this whole space or going against the current wave that's happening with the distortion stuff or rage music itself. He was around it. Not saying that he was locked in with these guys 24/7, but he was definitely in these guys' environment to artists like Che, OsamaSon, Netspin at different points, especially at events, shows, any events out there. He attended those, man. And more importantly, he wasn't just around it, he was also supporting it. That's why people keep replying to this tweet showing him pulling up to performances, playing their music, publicly showing love, even saying this himself that he messed with OsamaSon instead of OsamaSon. He said OsamaSon music heavily. If I'm not tripping, I don't know if I can find the video, but I remember him being right next to OsamaSon's manager, even bumping his head to his music heavily. This was right during that whole time of OsamaSon making a stamp with the whole distortion wave that was going on. It probably wasn't as heavy, it probably wasn't just fully dark toned, but OsamaSon was making that turn layer, and he developed his own sound going into that lane, and Lazer was bumping his head heavily while listening to his music. And let me just say this again, it's not like Lazer has said distortion. No, he said rage as a whole. So that goes back to rappers that kind of developed this whole lane in particular. I mean, talk about Trippy, talk about the SoundCloud wave, talk about Cardi himself, talk about even Uzi. So more to the story, this isn't coming from a guy that was always on the outside looking in. This is someone who experienced the wave close up, engaged with it, and at one point he endorsed it. And I feel like that's where things stand out with this whole shift, because it's not about needing to be friends with somebody to like their music. That's not the point. The point is the energy changed, and it changed too fucking fast. Especially when that happened publicly. People are going to question shit like that, because when the outside looking in, it doesn't just look like an opinion. It looks like you might be doing it for attention. That's really the way it comes off. This tweet didn't mention Lazer at all. It didn't say anything about him or the current wave that he supposedly suggests that he's not involved in. It really just added a whole layer of contradiction to this whole situation. His sound still shares like a DNA from that same scene a bit. Not full out, because Lazer do have a habit of diving into plug and stuff like that. The times where I did tap in, I know he taps into different or older elements of music and bring his own form with it by having his own tone and things that he say and the way he say it, his delivery and stuff like that, the way he kind of lay in the pocket. I get it, but I'm sure Lazer fans could even say this, bro. If y'all are watching the video, there are times but he do the same kind of shit. I mean, it might not be specifically distortion, but it might be as chaotic as it too. Because I've heard times where the beat sounded like it's farting. He had these zigzag flows going in a circle. He had a different structure. And the only major
Yeah, nigga, ain't that rage? Like, Lazer them got songs where the beat loud as hell. You know what I'm saying? But he be rapping though.
turn that you can't really put these guys in the same box is that the execution is different. And before I start seeing Lazer them fans going a full rant saying that, oh, Lazer don't make no distortion or rage studio, not at all. I'm saying that he has different forms in which he tried to lay the same kind of concept, but not fully. And he's also sampled the guys that also dove into the rage shit too. So it just doesn't make sense. And yes, I know that majority of his music kind of dive into that whole dark plug wave and just plug in general itself. I can understand that. But here's my thing. When Lazer them sometimes yells or brings his own sonic feel when it comes to his structure and delivery, or he hops on a huge destruction beat, something that's just farting 808s and compact sounds, like, what do you really suggest that is? I wouldn't say it's rage, but you're not far from the convo, bro. And should people really take you serious when you kind of talking about another scene, when you kind of dive into the same shit? And you're not really taking yourself serious at that. It's just not making sense. It don't really correlate. It's like the wrong messenger in a way. Because y'all know I've been making videos about Lazer for a long time now. Since late 2023 or early 2024 itself. I've been talking about him and his sound and stuff like that. Dissecting his sound at that. But there are comments of people saying, yo, they don't even know what the fuck Lazer is doing. They don't even get it. It's overstimulating.
We need to respect Lazer them though. I ain't gonna let Lazer be rapping his ass off. I ain't gonna lie.
It's loud, it's chaotic, it's a rapid flow. There are songs that Lazer would say himself, yo, this shit sounds reckless. There is no cohesive flow. Don't get it twisted. There are some songs that have that smooth bounce on that dark plug shit where he do get in the pocket. He will give you that signature sound. He will show you a little bit of bar work and also some goofiness here and there. Definitely. I think that's why I enjoy some of Lazer music here and there. But as a whole, we're not finna act like this dude is just far from the convo of just making destruction and bringing these absurd ass sounds together, flipping in his own way with, producers like Godson, right? Yeah, like that's a thing. I remember seeing niggas put him in the same convo as Too Slimy. And I know that sounds crazy. I know people are gonna be like, oh.
Okay, well, I never seen a nigga put Lazer them in the same conversation with Too Slime. What are you talking about? Where you seen that at?
Like, I'm dead ass. I remember making videos after I made my documentary and everything about this guy and all types of shit. Dude, yo, the comments were crazy. I mean, yo, people kind of thought the same thing about you at one point. They will put you in the same bubble with these guys that dive into heavy distortion or rage, as you put it, Lazer them music naturally just feels more loose because he doesn't dive into that specifically. It's more scattered around, whole bunch of shit happening, compact, almost like it's forming in real time. And that's why I feel like the reaction is so divided. In his own words, he replied to bro saying that, yo, I didn't hop the regular beats. So I feel like a lot of people do agree with Lazer to a certain extent, saying like, oh, maybe it's repetitive, And that's fair. Any wave that's growing fast gets somewhat oversaturated in a way. But there are tons of different people that are looking at this whole thing like, yo, you were just around this, you were supporting it, and now it's trash? Now it's ass, huh? All because you heard a few artists or whatever that you really didn't enjoy, like a Too Slimy maybe, for example, or maybe a Blood. You heard his compact sounds and stuff like that. You heard this loudness, and you categorized the whole damn scene just because of those few people. And you said something, but you weren't clear about it. So now people are jumping the gun like, oh, he doesn't fuck with this guy, or maybe he don't like that guy. You didn't give your full opinion for real. You left people on a cliffhanger to think whatever the fuck they want. Oh, I don't fuck with
Yeah.
this kind of rage or anything like that. No, you said rage in general. You just generalized it. So it kind of seems like maybe he just don't fuck with it at all. But the tweet definitely should have been more clear. And I don't think he's backtracking.
Gang. Lazer them a little slow Atlanta nigga. He don't have no comprehension skills. I leak beat. I leak beat.
On this because he hasn't said anything about it. He is leaving this shit up in the air. There are people that are making good rage music still. And even with the older scene, I mean, Fago still has a habit of diving into rage still. Ken is still doing it. Yeet does it here and there, but not full out. Ass? Is that the term for it? That's that. If he was talking about just one particular guy, like a Too Slimy or something, I don't think a lot of people would disagree. I think a lot of people would somewhat agree with him, of course. But trying to put everybody in one bubble and classify rage as a whole and say that it's ass or something like that just doesn't make sense. It's kind of hypocritical. And I think that's where the tension kind of stemmed from. It's also the wrong messenger because fans always say things like this: man, Rage is ass, bro. It ain't going nowhere, bro. It's not evolving. Nobody bringing nothing new to the table. And usually most of those guys don't really dissect the scene and actually deep dive with anything from the branch offs dealing with Cardi or Uzi or anything like that. But with Lazer also calling the fans brainwashed takes it a little bit further. And I think that's why a lot of guys didn't really like what he said at all, because now you kind of took it away from the music. You also talk about the people listening, because fans connect to the sound for a reason. So dismissing that entirely when you've seen that for yourself could create a pushback. It's weird. And I definitely made a video about this, not because, Lazer spoke on the whole scene as a whole, but Rage itself. I feel like this is a convo that can go on for hours on top of hours. And I explained myself so many different times, kind of sticking up for Rage because I do enjoy it. I just don't enjoy different forms of it sometimes because I feel like it gets overcrowded. And I love distortion itself. I do. I enjoy it from some artists, but I think there are a lot of artists that are trying to dive in this whole thing that don't really bring new substance or new elements vocally. So sometimes I feel like it gets overcrowded and blended in with everything else. And that's why people have such a huge habit of just taking one person and classifying the whole scene throughout that one person. But I don't do that. I found my lane of music that I actually enjoy. And you damn right, yes, I do respect a lot of artists that are bringing a new form of it. I like the lighter and brighter sound right now. I enjoy some blood tracks here and there. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to that whole wave of Pretty Fun, Slayr, Ego Break, and Lucy. I think they're very talented. These guys are producers themselves, and they're bringing their own form of rage to the table. Lighter distortion itself. I know Rich V2 like to say that he doesn't dive into rage specifically or anything like that, or doesn't have that same bounce as a rage track, but I personally feel like it is somewhat rage. It kind of stems from the same thing, and I really love his music too. Even if you look at this bridge, right, of Rage, of course you can't put Skate Star, Peasy, the old way guys, Teases a Diamond, on the same exact branch as an OsamaSon.
They don't make rage music. Teases kind of make some rage shit. Sometimes that nigga just be yelling on a song.
And guys like that when it comes to that loud, intense distortion wave with Che too. But I have heard they beats pick up a little more differently. Maybe they have a little more groovy feel to it. More of an atmospheric vibe, ambient kind of feel, but still bouncing like a rage track, but it's definitely not in the same exact bubble. Just like with Lone music and stuff like that, even though he not underground. I know y'all heard about a pound, fake niggas. I personally feel like they're all on the same bridge, but there's different tempos to it. So to be honest with you, I know I kind of spoke a lot about this whole thing, but I somewhat agree in terms of, yeah, the shit does get blended a lot with Rage itself. A lot of people are diving into it. You're not going to like everything, of course. I see the hype a lot, but I don't see the hype sometimes when guys that are just now hitting AK monthly on Spotify or some shit like that dives into distortion and doesn't bring anything valuable to the table when it comes to his voice or the way he kind of presents himself and shit like that. I really don't find a goal in that. Yeah, but some of that shit can be bad, but trying to put everybody on the same surface just doesn't make sense. And that's what I don't agree about with Lazer.
Yeah, like Netspin really pissed me off, kind of pissed me off with this new album. Like, you went from having your own sound, like badass fucking kid, like you like when he was getting his songs produced by Zoo and Cranes and shit like that. Like, you had your own sound, and then now you just sound like Shay and OsamaSon doing a rage shit. Like, why do all these niggas end up making rage music and going down that path? Like, I don't know.
Sad. And I also feel like it's just a weird timing. Like you was just fucking with it at one point, right? It might have been a different
Like,
form
he had some rage songs on a badass fucking kid, but like this new album, this shit is just all rage.
of rage, but it all still is rage. Like it just doesn't make sense. It's very ironic. Yeah, Lazer kind of dished away from the whole convo. It started with SQC just saying he doesn't think this will go anywhere. People might enjoy it, but he don't think it's going to hit a different bracket. But Lazer added his 2 cents out of nowhere randomly when at one point you really did enjoy it. Yes, over time people could change up, and that's probably what happened, but this tweet also had nothing to do with Lazer at all. And calling it ass when people think your music is unbearable to even listen to, thinking that your music is noise pollution, doesn't have a real rhythm or a flat line to kind of dissect.
No, Lazer them music, not noise pollution. He just be trolling in his songs now. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why people are saying right message, wrong messenger. Because it's been a known thing that people are saying, rage is dying, or it's not going to last, or they really don't like it with the new scene. But he didn't break down his point. He used rage as a whole with no context, just saying that the shit is ass, and that little kids that support it are just brainwashed. But I'm so confused on what he meant by like rage as a whole is ass though. Looking at what he did in the past and what he does now, his sound and what he's influenced by. I mean, we're talking about a guy that didn't want to get in the studio originally, like at all, or have good quality music. He was purposely rapping on a phone. He still does it to this day, if I'm not mistaken. So I just feel like it's coming from the wrong place. There's no middle ground. And also him switching his opinion, which is okay, but very random. So I really don't know what his motive was behind this whole tweet. It's a little confusing, but we kind of just gotta go based off of what he said about him hopping on regular beats and stuff like that. I don't know what he's trying to get at, man. But let me know how y'all feel about this whole thing. I'm sure y'all probably agree with Lazer
That nigga spazzing with them headphones on, rapping on that band
too. And I'm sure a lot of people disagree too. But yeah, I'm done chatting. Make sure y'all follow my IG.
Make sure to come subscribe and all do this. How y'all feel about what Lisa them said?